Good evening, America. Welcome back to another episode of Break the Machine podcast. Tonight, we have another episode with Convos with the Influence. She's back with us again this Wednesday. She was a little bit under the weather last week, so we had to make sure that we prayed for her and her family and whatnot so that everybody would heal in peace. And now she's back here to just give us the goods like she always does. It's always a fantastic conversation with her, so it's great to have her back. And we're gonna get into some stuff tonight. We'll talk a little bit of Hollywood today, maybe some politics towards the end of the show. But there's a tragedy of something that kind of bugged me a little bit just because of the age of the actress that passed today. It just kind of hit me a little bit. Makes you kind of reflect on your own life and reflect on your own health and whatnot, and how fortunate we are, many of us, that God has always got us in His grace, and we take that for granted a lot of times, and we don't even pay attention to how He's actually just taking care of us, and we don't take care of ourselves. But in her case, I've never heard anything ill about her or her doing anything crazy. So without further ado, let's bring in the Influence and say so she can say hello to everyone.
Hey
Say hi.
everyone. Hi. Well, first of all, Eric, thank you so much for that lovely introduction as always. I will be on camera next week. And yes, last week, I really pride myself on my very strong immune system. I'm almost never ever sick. The last time was like over a year and a half ago, but my whole family it was cold, flu, something. It started with my little nieces and just it just seemed like the whole city was under the weather,
Yeah.
so I wasn't feeling well for about a week, but I'm really, really happy to be here, and yes, our prayers to Michelle Trachtenberg and her family. That's so sad to hear with her being so young, so certainly, we're all, you know, in prayer for her and her family, so that's very wonderful for you to bring that up, Eric.
Yeah, again, I always found her as a talented actress, and she was good at what she did, and again, I never heard anything ill about her, and I never seen her out of pocket or anything like that. Like, some of the people we see in the entertainment industry, whether it's music or or Hollywood, and I felt it just kind of hit me a little bit today. I was like, wow, she was only 39 years old, and
Yeah.
from what I understand, she had a liver transplant, and it just seems like it didn't take.
Mm. Yeah, we have to just be so mindful and grateful every single day for our health. When everything's going right with our health, we have everything. And when you think about all of the different things in your body, when that all have to be working in unison, there's so many different, every system in the body, the respiratory system, your immune system, your cardiovascular system, everything, and just the ability to walk, talk, see, think, breathe, and function is just such a gift and a blessing. So when I always say, as long as your health is right and you can do everything that you normally would want to do, then you have everything. And of course, your family and everything that matters, and everything else will work itself out. So being very mindful that our health is so, so important.
Yeah, I think many of us, we take it for granted, and we've talked on ad nauseum at times on this channel about how big farm and big ag and big food and everything is just all
Hmm.
kind of linked together. One's creating the disease and the other's supposedly creating the cure, but they don't cure
Right.
anything. And it's good to see that someone like RFK Jr. is now running HHS, and we know that again, he's someone that on a political landscape, I don't agree with probably like 90% of the stuff that comes out of his
Mhm.
mouth. With that said, the caveat is that I have always agreed with him on being healthier and transparency with with pharmacy and big ag and everything. So
Mhm.
I think that is just a good light being that's going to be just shined into that darkness there, and hopefully a lot of stuff will get ripped apart, and we can get our food back to a better place. Because if you look at videos, right, from the 1970s, 80s, and even into the 90s, you see people on the beaches, they're all cut up and everything like that, and it's like, what changed from like the 1990s to now? Just take a look at what it is that's in your food.
Right.
It's just crazy. Jonathan says hello.
Hi. Hello. Oh, hi, Jonathan. I just love everyone. Everyone. in your chat, just this wonderful community you've created, Eric. I just think everyone is just so stellar. Hi, Jonathan, and everyone else in the chat. Just the coolest group of people. I'm just so honored to have, in the way that I've been able to meet everyone, it's just so cool to meet everyone. They're just amazing.
Yeah, I'm grateful to have you, Kristen. It's awesome. We always have great conversations, and I gotta give credit where credit is due to Scott. For helping me put together this community of patriots and truth seekers and truth tellers that come on the show. He introduced me to many of you, and I'm very, very grateful that he did. And you and I have a
Amen.
really good you and I have a really good relationship with each other and stuff like that. And we have great discussions outside of this stuff. In real life, IRL, we have some pretty good
In real life.
discussions. But
Yes.
it's just great that we came together, and again, reflecting back on Michelle Trachtenberg, man, I'm grateful, okay, that I have all of you, because with the snap of a finger you can get, life can just change for you in a heartbeat, with some sort of calamity. And I'm just glad that I have been very, very grateful and glad that God has brought us all together to continue to bring the truth to the truth seekers and listen to the truth tellers, right? Because our chat, like you were saying, is always fantastic. They always have like great stuff to add to the conversations.
Amen. Well, I love that. If first of all, today you brought it up with everything that RFK Jr. is doing. Number one, the fact that we have someone in our current administration who's willing to discuss it at all, right? The idea of what's in our food and what's going on in, with big pharma. These weren't conversations that were even being had. Not only that, it was, the opposite, in that the entire agenda has been completely forced upon us, and the idea that we have to vaccinate children with hundreds of shots before they're 8 years old, and all of these agendas that were driven by an entity or many entities that don't have our best interests at heart. And just again, regardless of whether or not we agree with everyone's politics, the idea that we're having the conversation is really important. And as you mentioned, Eric, just bringing it to the forefront about how important our health is, and just being grateful to God that we have each other, and to be able to even have the conversation is a gift. So I just love how comprehensive you are with bringing everything to the forefront of what matters collectively as a society, as, group of friends, just to have the conversation. And of course, to always bring everything back to our faith in the one who gives us life in the first place. So I'm just very grateful for you, and of course, this wonderful community that we're able to have the conversation. So it's a blessing.
Yes. All of these, just a complete blessing. I listen, for me personally, I feel like, what in the hell is going on? I got things going off everywhere.
What's going on?
What?
Here we go.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. I got all kinds of stuff going on
I love
in the background.
The little Trump emoji here that we have with um,
Yeah,
yes, one
yes,
1334.
that
That's
that's
awesome.
Jonathan. That's Jonathan on the Rumble side.
Oh, Jonathan. Okay, Jonathan.
Yeah.
That would have been my go-to little Bitmoji or emoji.
Uh,
I just love that he has his mugshot in the Oval Office. Is there anything in the entire world more badass than that? No.
his mugshot just hanging there. Right before you walk into the Oval Office, you gotta watch. You gotta look at his mugshot. That is like the ultimate. It's the ultimate troll,
It's
right?
the
Like he is the ultimate
ultimate
troll.
troll. It's
Like
just so
he's
cool.
just like
Oh, you're gonna try to
it's
make a
awesome.
fool out of me? Well, I'm gonna put it
Yeah.
front in the very first thing you see when you walk into the Oval Office is my mugshot. I love it. It's
Yeah.
the
Well, you
greatest
know
thing
what?
ever.
Since I can't put up a gangsta emoji, I'll put up the cool emoji for him. He gets the cool
Yes,
emoji.
love it. That was so much fun, Eric. Thank you.
Yeah, he's so funny. He's hysterical. But listen, if you're just watching how he's rolling, it is a complete and total different direction of where he was during his first term. Um, just
Mhm.
he's moving a mile a minute, and people just can't keep up. The press can't keep up with him, and shit, his own people can't even keep up with him. They're like, what is he gonna do next? But what has to happen is the Republicans in the House have to get off their ass. And I know they got some stuff that are, they got going to the Senate right now. I can actually bring that up for us, so that you can see for yourself. Uh, it's I don't know. I'm a little when you look at the breakdown of it and stuff like that. It's still a lot of money that we could probably get removed from this bill that they're trying to put together that's going to the Senate right now.
Well,
So I'll bring
what's
that up.
really interesting is, they're exposing Doge is exposing all of this unbelievable just level of corruption and uh,
Yeah,
this spending that's just so above and beyond anything that anybody was prepared to see. And I would just think that every American would be appalled and outraged. I don't care, who you voted for. You would think, well, wait a minute, our tax dollars are going for what? And
yeah,
yet somehow, somehow everyone on the left is like, I can't believe that he's exposing this. It's like, don't you care about what's being exposed?
yeah.
They don't
It's
care.
amazing,
It's
right? But
unbelievable.
it's amazing, right? Like, the same party that for decades was always talking about government waste and everything like
Right.
that, all of a sudden they're all for it. But the commies always about doing commie stuff. And Jonathan says,
Commie's gonna commie.
yeah, commies are gonna commie. He says, you see that the AP is trying to sue because Trump removed them from the press corps. Yes, I saw that. And the judge smacked them down and said essentially that the president can do whatever he wants when it
Love
comes to
it.
press access. Because he's not silencing anybody, right? He still has the press there. He's changing up the press corps. He's inviting podcasters. He's inviting smaller news agencies, conservative news agencies, and stuff like that that you only get to see really on YouTube and on Rumble, right? You don't even really get to see them. They're not on any cable network or any satellite network. I don't know if you guys are familiar with OAN. They were actually pretty big for a little bit there. They were on every single cable network. They were on Verizon, FiOS. They were on Spectrum. They were on what are the two satellites? Dish and what the hell's the other one? Goodness gracious me, DirecTV.
There
And
you
then
go.
all of a sudden, because they're conservative, they got yanked off of everything. But if you were a fan of OAN and you watched them on YouTube and you watched them on what do you call it, on Rumble, they're actually back on the Dish network. So they're back on satellite. So it's a start. They woke up and realized that we need to bring some, other than the Blaze, we got to bring some more balance to the news and stuff like that. So but we'll get into this bill that they're working on that's actually headed to the Senate right now. It's the Gateway Pundit did a pretty decent job breaking it down. They didn't get too in depth. They just kind of gave broken down to basic numbers, and we'll just kind of get into it, right? So, like, here's a closer look. National defense, almost $1 trillion. And what they said was when they looked at it, key allocations were military, personal training and equipment, National Nuclear Security Administration, counterterrorism efforts. And then the objective was to strengthen the U.S. military and bolster national security amid global threats. Um, Unfortunately, the Biden administration gutted our military. We had a discussion on that
Yeah.
previously.
Are we gonna
You
talk
know,
about that?
yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean?
it's
I'd love
it's
to hear it from your point of view, being that you actually served in our military. I've heard that so many different times, many, not only just anecdotally, but friends of mine who served. Um, I, the fact that we are saying that our own government gutted our military and that's not front and center, like what?
yeah, it's so it's what they do all the time, right? Like the commies are gonna commie. The Democratic Party, every time they get, you know, into the office and they get the presidency. Hey, Rogue Nina, how are you today? They what do you call it? They just gut our military. They hate the military so much that they just go out of their way, to destroy it. And we saw it under the Obama. Actually, Clinton did one hell of a job. He absolutely destroyed. He wrecked the military. The destruction he did under Clinton, his 8 years, okay, of gutting our reserves in particular, he got rid of all of the fighting units in the army. So like all the infantry units, got rid of every single infantry unit in the reserves, right? So then what happens after 9/11, we're sending well, regular forces overseas to fight in Afghanistan and Iraq, but Iraq turned into essentially a National Guard war. They were rotating National Guard units to backfill the main division army infantry divisions and whatnot, okay, in order to make that up, right? So like that's how I ended up freaking getting picked up. I personally, I was already prior service active duty, so with the Marine Corps. So like when I got to my unit and I swore in, got to my unit a week later, and my first sergeant was like, I got to send you some training because you had a break in service, and we got our warning orders to head to Iraq. But a lot of units actually rotated. A lot of National Guard units, the infantry, the military police and whatnot, they actually rotated through Iraq and Afghanistan. So that was a direct result of not having those same units in the regular Army reserves, the federal component. Right, so they had to rely on the state component, which is really supposed to be taking care of national disasters and taking care of the homeland when our the federal portion of it is actually overseas. Now, we've always backfilled in every war we've sent the Coast Guard to be part of the Navy. We've actually sent the National Guard. That goes back like forever. We've done that. But the direct result of the gutting under the Clinton administration was what happened in Iraq and Afghanistan, and then Obama came in and he just destroyed it even more. And what really hurt us, actually, what has been hurting us for years, is our intelligence assets. We used to have a lot of experience with human intelligence, and under Clinton, he wanted to go to everything with pictures and fucking digital and stuff like that. We'll do everything with satellites, which you can't do. You need human and you need boots on the ground in order to get proper intelligence as well. You can't just rely on pictures. So that's what they
Mhm.
do when they come in. They absolutely just destroy that, and then it's always up to the next Republican president, no matter who it is, to have to try to beef it back up again. You know,
I think that's disgusting.
yeah,
I mean, disgusting really isn't the word because I don't know what word, abhorrent, vile, sinister in words in ways that I can't even completely explain that our own American government would put our soldiers, our entire military at a disadvantage that way on purpose,
yeah,
deliberately. It's
yeah,
it's
deliberately.
worse than deliberately opening our border wide open
Yeah, Obama essentially,
completely.
when he went on, I don't know if you remember when Obama got elected, he went on the fucking apology tour across the world and stuff like that, and essentially he wanted to smack us down. His own country, he wanted to smack us down and not be top tier in the world as far as like our military and stuff. So, and with him, it's even worse, right? So Clinton gutted the physical aspect of things, right? He got rid of divisions and downsized considerably. What Obama did was he turned the military into a social experiment, right? And we saw the culmination of that under his third term with Joe Biden.
Mhm.
All right. So everything that he did in during his presidency to the military, okay, it was started under him, and then under the Biden administration, the interns that were running the country, because it wasn't Joe Biden. Um, what do you call it? That culmination ended with like some of the people that were in charge, and it's amazing because I think Obama got rid of something like 150 or anywhere from 125 to 150 flag officers with experience, combat experience. He just got rid of them because he just wanted to downsize and he wanted to wreck the gut the military like they always do.
How is
Yeah,
that
listen.
not, widely known? How is something that nefarious blasted everywhere? Like, hello, this is what our own government is doing to our military. I don't get how this is
Well,
something that was able to be perpetuated for years and years and years, and that we have this commander in chief who smiles, being like, "I'm the president of the United States." Meanwhile, they're destroying this country in every single way possible and putting our soldiers at a disadvantage that way. It's just
well,
disgusting.
well, to answer your question, who was in charge of information? Who's in charge of information? The left has been in
Rumsfeld.
charge of information. Yeah. The commies have been in charge of information for a very long time, right? So like in collusion with the government,
That's
and then
true.
with the expansion of big tech, okay. The last, I mean, where we're in 2025, the last 10 years, right, since 2015 has been it's been an orgy of nefarious like people just getting together and banging one another. It's just been that bad. Now they've always again, the commies, they always play the long game, and we have to constantly remind people that now that a lot of this shit is being exposed, you cannot let it go back, right? Like what we were talking about complacency, we can't let that go back. Legacy media is dead. All right, they're just hanging on a whim. The only people that are propping up legacy media are essentially boomers, older Gen Xers. Maybe some millennials, because the millennials, like, they believe everything that comes out of the legacy media's what
Yeah.
do you call it, a mouthpiece, whatever mouthpiece they have up there. So
Joy Reid
it's up
losing
to
her show is a good sign.
oh, less. Joyless Reed is out, and it looks like what do you call it? Rachel Madhouse is going to be, what do you call it, getting
Another
tossed too, because
psychopath.
yeah, I posted on Instagram that the production team over there has been downsized considerably
Good.
for her show. So, like, I think she's pretty much out the door too. And yes, this too, Jonathan, you're absolutely correct. The media is hanging on with our tax dollars, as we saw with the USAID stuff, that they were literally paying the media, okay, and stuff like that. They're literally paying the media.
Well,
It
all
was,
of the crying
they
lefties who, voted for Kamala Harris, they need some ridiculous nonsense to keep them mentally afloat, so they watch the mainstream media because at least
yep,
they have someone to cry in their soup with them,
yep,
even
yep.
though it's just a complete every single thing that they say is just bold-faced lies all day long.
It's true.
Every
It's
single
true.
thing that they spew and spout, nothing is rooted or grounded in any sort of reality whatsoever, and yet people still buy it, so whatever.
Yeah, unfortunately, there are still, we've talked about this too, that there are going to just be some people who can't let go, and those are the people that you gotta pass on by, because they don't want to let go. They're not going to let go. You could literally smack them in the face with it, show them video footage and everything, and
Yes.
and what do you call it, and they're still gonna, no, 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 I don't see it. You're lying. Those are lies. They're literally watching
Yeah,
video footage of
yeah.
their favorite person doing something nefarious, and they don't care.
It doesn't even
Is
matter. I mean, are we gonna talk about the fact that there was an actual video of one of our state, I mean, not our, but, you know, quote unquote, our state representatives on the Senate floor doing what they were doing. I'm not gonna even say it.
Yeah. Yeah,
S
it
it's
was
sodomy, right?
yeah, I think it
Naked.
was, I don't think it wasn't one of our senators, it was one of their aides that was
Okay,
that was
fine.
aides.
Right.
AIDS goes perfect with that.
Well,
uh
yeah, no pun
yeah, there
intended,
was
but,
yeah,
hear that there will be people doing the most hideous, disgusting things, everything we saw with Hunter Biden, videos of him smoking crack naked with prostitutes, and, nobody
yeah,
cares about that. He goes on, primetime television saying, "I'd literally smoke Parmesan cheese out of the carpet," and, like,
yeah,
no one cares, it's fine. It's
yeah,
fine, upstanding family, and, you have Joe Biden, like, literally sniffing women's heads in, the White
it's
House,
it's he's
and
sniffing
children,
babies,
little
everything.
children,
Yes, yeah, sniffing babies, sniffing
it
women. You
mishandling,
know,
doing things that if anyone else were doing, they would be arrested, and he's doing it in his suit as the president, and nobody says anything. It's just unbelievable.
well, if anybody's ever followed, the history of Joe Biden, he's been like that his whole career, right? Like, his mind is gone now, but like when he had his faculties, he was still the same way. So when you see him doing those things, that's actually moments of lucidity for him. Okay,
Yes.
it is. It's
I
actually
know, it
moments of
literally is
lucidity.
that's his, his MO.
Yeah. It's actual, like I said, moments of lucidity for him, where he's gotten his shit together, and he's like, "Oh, let me go sniff this woman over here, and just, cuz I'm just a creep, you know? Let me be a creep and sniff some freaking congressman's wife's freaking, new haircut, whatever." He's just an idiot. It's
That's
terrible.
literally what he
It is
was
a
doing. It was like, it's so blatant, like, it's just unbelievable
it
that that's
is.
on camera, it's, like, on video, it's not like an accidental, like, someone shot it from far away, it's, like, while he's on the you know, in the White House, like, at a press briefing, like
Yes. right? Like
Imagine
he's in
what
the
he's
middle of.
doing behind the scenes if he's
I
doing
know
that
it's
in front of everybody.
he'll literally say something stupid, right? That comes out of his mouth, and then like he'll see whatever person that he wants to go sniff and walk off. And like right in the middle of a statement and walk off and go sniff somebody. It's insane. I just never seen it. And yeah, Jonathan, it's crazy. In an argument, Lenin did not seek the truth. That is very, very true. Lenin sought victory, and victory by all means. That's
Jonathan
how.
with the bombs.
Yeah, he's always dropping bombs.
Yeah,
Always,
always. It's so cool.
he's fantastic with that stuff. He's always got his shit together. So you know what, Jonathan, this is for you dropping another bomb.
That
That's
is
for
just so much
Jonathan.
fun.
This just like, yeah, we're gonna start having fun on this show.
Yes, I
We
enjoyed
always
that.
have fun anyway, but
Yes.
yeah, I started figuring out some stuff in the studio. Now we're just gonna it's gonna be crazy. You guys are gonna get sick of me.
No, never. It just gets
I'm gonna
more
be
fun.
touching buttons, not touching kids, touching buttons, family.
Yeah. I mean, it's
uh,
just like this whole thing about, well, Trump is this or Trump is that. It's like, you know what? You don't have
yeah,
those legs to stand on when the person you voted for is doing things that are so unbelievably inappropriate in front of our faces.
yeah,
Like, and nobody talked about that in the mainstream
yeah.
media ever.
It's true.
These
And then
little
we're again,
kids.
they're just not going to. It was, and this goes back to for me. I mean, I've always kind of known that the media was always leftist in nature, but they hid it, okay, for a very long time. Obviously decades upon decades, all through the 20th century, they hid it. They showed bits and pieces of it. There were some people who were, extreme radicals and would come out of their face because that was their stitch, right? Like that's what they
Mhm.
did. Okay, they were a little bit more radical than others. So they had mouthpieces that were out there, just being the yokels and stuff like that they were, freaking just spewing bullshit. But you know in again, it started for me. I saw it in the 90s with the communist news network, just constantly just saving Bill Clinton no matter what he did. Okay, all the shit that he did, they covered it up like immediately. It was like immediately that. And you know George, what's that hobbit's name, George Stephanopoulos, that's his name, the Hobbit, yeah, from ABC. um with his connections too in the media, he was able to shut a lot of stuff down. So everything from the essaying of women, and the extramarital affairs in the White House, and prior to being in the White House, what he did in Arkansas as the governor, all of that shit went away. And that's to me when I started to really really wake up and start saying, oh, whoa, wait a minute. I kind of always knew they leaned to the left, but this is like crazy. And then it got exponentially more overt in them hiding stuff for other communists, right? And then obviously with the creation of MSLSD, okay, coming out, and they're just batshit crazy on that freaking network. They're all freaking nuts, you know. And now we're seeing, since nobody watches them, you get people like Joyless Reed, finally, the racist Joyless Reed, finally getting freaking tossed. And
I mean, the
and I
things that would come out of her mouth are just
yeah,
unbelievable that she got away with that, talking about white tears. Like, that's not, I'm sorry, but as a journalist, when you start getting into comments like that,
yeah.
what can you imagine if it were the other way around?
But it wasn't journalism, right?
Of
All of
course
these
not,
news
but can you
networks, all
imagine if somebody like, I mean, anybody on Fox News
yeah,
had a comment like that, but in reverse?
yeah, it would be it would they would have got fired immediately.
Fired,
And
blacklisted,
oh yeah,
excommunicated, and
absolutely,
exiled.
they would have been excommunicado for sure. Yes, Rogue Nina. Let's not forget the diary. Yes, his daughter's diary and the pedo with his daughter and everyone else. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
which
again,
which
they hit
was
all of that.
confirmed to be true in a court of law.
Yep. As a matter of fact, it ended up with James O'Keefe, that diary. Okay, and the FBI went after him because of that. They made his life miserable to the point that he ended up losing Project Veritas and had to go and start his own thing, um, and stuff. But the people at Project, Project Veritas lost me when they let him go because James O'Keefe was Project
Right,
Veritas.
Ja
Um,
Project Veritas was his thing.
yeah, you
That
know what I'm
was
saying? And
him.
then his board got rid of him. So if you're just joining us, I am here with the Influence. She's back with us, and
Hello?
she will be back on camera next week, like she said.
Yes.
And if you look at the top of the chat and you want to support the show, there's a buy me a coffee there. It's all up to you. It's up there if you want to help this channel grow. We've been talking about talking about pedo stuff. We we got into the Joe Biden pedo stuff because it's just hard not to. But we talked about Michelle Trachtenberg and her death. It was very, very sad to hear about that. And right now we're talking a little bit about the bill that they're putting together to try to get to the president's desk to sign. And we went over the military portion. Now we'll go over some other stuff there. We got international affairs was the budget of 66 billion. That's actually better than what it usually is. Um, Foreign aid and humanitarian assistance. I want that shit to stop. State Department operations. Obviously, we need the State Department to do international stuff, and then international financial programs. That shit. See again, these are things that even though they say the objective is ensure America's global leadership while maintaining fiscal oversight. What do we need international financial programs for right now? Can someone explain that to me? Anybody got an idea what we need those for?
I mean, that
I
goes
don't know.
back to the whole, what are we giving 60, 70, 80, $100 billion to Ukraine for when we have people floating in the streets after a hurricane
Yeah,
and we're giving them $700? When we have people
yeah,
who can't feed their children in this country. And it's
yeah,
yeah, that's the great thing about the United States of America. We're there to help other nations, but not when our own citizens can't afford to pay their own bills and feed their own children, and when there are natural disasters and they're left completely and totally abandoned.
yeah.
And yet
No,
we're
it's
giving
true.
foreign aid. No, it doesn't work like that. When everyone's doing just fine here, then we can go ahead and help our neighbor. But until then, the rest is just a big fat money laundering scheme that's obvious. And it's
Yep.
really great and the most beautiful thing that it's all being exposed in real time.
Yeah, and you know what I want to see happen? This is what I want to see them do. I get that they, we're gonna get some cuts and all this other stuff. I know in this bill, and I haven't seen it, there's supposedly supposed to be the no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security and whatnot, no tax on overtime. That's supposed to be put into this. I haven't seen that because I haven't really looked into the bill that deep in order for me to find it. They're just talking about it. It's still there's just a lot of money that's just being spent, and I'm gonna go through some of this other stuff, and you'll see it's just like almost $1 trillion for this, almost a trillion. And these are things, unfortunately, that by law have to be funded, so it's like they have to fund it. But there's just, like you were saying, with Doge going through all of this stuff, it's just great to just see them just pointing shit out. And it's just got to stop. We got to start downsizing. We really got to downsize. We really don't need like 90% of the we have. How many agencies, Jonathan? Can you give us a count? How many agencies does the U.S. government actually have? Just all combined. I'm not talking about. Don't break it down into like part of the Department of Justice. I just want to know as a whole how many agencies our U.S. government has, because I know it's something ridiculous. That's just like what. It's just we got to stop this stuff. Again, like you said, foreign aid. Nothing. I don't want any foreign aid going to anybody until we can get this shit done. And speaking of, you had hit Ukraine. I don't know if you saw, they're getting ready to sign over their mineral rights to us in order to get help, which is fantastic. If we're
Mhm.
gonna help people, listen. If we're gonna help people, we might as well benefit from it, right? That's how I
Well,
see it.
yeah, I mean, that's kind of like the whole concept of tariffs too. It's like, well, there has to be some sort of a quid pro quo. We're not just here to completely bail everyone out when we have,
Yep.
veterans sleeping on the streets, and there's a homeless problem here. There are people who, children who are going hungry every night. It's not like everyone here is in the lap of luxury. So, um, I think that it's a great thing that we're at least minimizing some of the spending, exposing the rest. And this business
Yeah.
of like, I'm with Ukraine and everyone having
I
Ukraine
know.
flags, even now on their profile, it's like, how anti American can you be?
I know, right? It's just like I wouldn't, I don't put anybody's flag but ours anyway. The only other one I would put is Puerto Rico because well they're still Americans anyway. So Jonathan has an answer for us,
Yay.
and he says the U.S. government, Jesus Christ,
430.
has over 438 agencies and sub agencies. You know what they get? This is what the U.S. government gets. Okay, they get the fuck off emoji right here. This is what they get.
That's my favorite one.
That's what they get. The fuck you, okay? Because it's just insane that we have to even worry about that. It's just crazy. It's crazy. 438 agencies and sub agencies. It's insane. It just has to
And
stop. We have to get
what's
it to
the
stop.
what's that like really popular meme, or not just a meme, but that thing that's going around of a lot of different memes of, nobody voted for this on the left. It's like, no, this is
Oh yeah.
exactly what we
This is
voted for.
exactly what we voted for. Yeah.
I mean, it's Christmas every morning
Yeah.
with these
It
people
is.
in
It
office.
is
I'm
just
so
it is.
excited. This is
It is exciting
exactly
to do.
what we voted for,
No. Yeah,
just
it's
so you
exactly.
know.
We want this is the shit that we want. Okay. This is what over half the country voted for. Okay. They don't want they're done with it. This is why so many Democrats, walked away. All right, and came over to our side. Classic liberals are like, we can't do this anymore. The Marxist, the Democrat Party is just as I call them, the American, Communist Party, the
Yes,
ACP.
they
That's what
are.
I call them.
They're uh, self-proclaimed communists at this point.
Yeah, yeah.
It's no
Yeah,
secret.
I just call them the ACP. That they're not even a Democratic Party to me anymore.
The ACP,
Um,
yes,
that's what the
that's
ACP.
exactly what they are.
Yeah, you know, and
I mean,
Jonathan always helping us out. So Jonathan, you got
thank you,
fireworks last
Jonathan.
time. You got
Yeah,
fireworks last time. This time you get stars.
this is just too much fun. I'm really loving it. Jonathan deserved those stars.
You get stars, Jonathan. There you go. To put that at the top of your test paper because you got 100%.
What a
I'm having
boss.
too much fun with this shit. Yeah, I'm having too much fun
What
with
a
this shit.
boss.
The worst thing that could have happened is that I found these overlays that I can do while we're live, and here, I got one for you, but you're not on camera. I got one for you that I
That's
was gonna
okay.
do.
I've been on camera
Um,
before.
no, no, but you're not on camera today.
No.
But like, just when you came in, I was gonna do this for you.
Oh. Oh my gosh, I love it, and I will welcome that next week for
I
sure.
told you
Thank you.
I'm
Honestly,
just having a good time with
I
this
am
stuff.
having so much fun. Eric, you are too much. That is
The
just,
worst thing, the
oh
worst
my
thing that
gosh.
could have happened is that I found these overlays that I can just hit buttons now.
Oh, I love it.
It's just
This is
great.
a real experience. This break
Yeah,
the
we
machine
listen.
podcast.
We gotta have fun, right? Yeah, all right. So let's get into a little bit more of this stuff. Science, space, and technology. We know that that's going that's going to Elon Musk, and actually Jeff Bezos too, because people don't realize that Jeff Bezos is actually involved with our space exploration, not on the same level as what do you call it? As Elon, obviously, he's the one that actually makes the rockets. So wasn't it the best when they
Mhm.
were like, "What clearance does he have to see any of this?" The dude has top secret clearance. He built rockets
It's
for us.
like,
You
I'm
dipshit.
pretty sure
Yeah,
he has something. But in the words of Elon Musk, you can tell it's real because it looks so fake.
yeah,
I know it's a little weird. Some people understand what that means, so I wanna hear what
yeah,
Elon has
yeah,
to say about that later, but we'll talk about it later.
yeah.
We will.
So we know that he's getting that. Energy department. This is something we really need. Only 39.8 billion for energy research and nuclear regulation. We need less regulation on nuclear because nuclear is actually pretty safe. Fossil fuel and renewable energy initiatives, absolutely. Yeah, the objective is this part is to unleash American energy dominance.
Mhm.
Natural resources again for us. EPA regulatory oversight. We need less EPA shit because they're idiots. The National Park Service and conservation programs. I can get on with that. We definitely gotta, we gotta save the animals. Okay, I'm an animal guy. I love animals, so we gotta save
Me
our beautiful land,
too.
our country. What people don't understand when you hear these doom and gloomers with the climate change hoaxing and all that other stuff, guys, we I don't think we've actually developed. I think we've developed. Jonathan, get an exact number because I'm pretty sure I'm wrong. I heard somewhere along the lines of anywhere between 30 and 40% of our country is actually developed because we're such a big nation, but we have so much green and
Have
so
you
much
ever
different.
driven through sorry, go ahead. Sorry, Eric. That was my
You know,
fault.
go ahead. What were you gonna ask me? No, what were
So
you
have you
gonna ask
ever
me?
driven through some of the states, like, even just
Yes,
Wyoming? Have you driven through
yes.
some of these
I,
states, they just go on and on and on forever with no habitation whatsoever. There's
Kristen,
so much
Kristen,
land.
I have drove across the country across Interstate 80 all the way across, and I
Uh-huh.
drove back, which was worse, right? Because Interstate 80, at least you hit a whole bunch of cities, and there's more freaking populated areas and stuff.
Mhm.
But on I-10 coming back,
Oh
all
my
right,
gosh.
and you hit the desert. You start that desert in Eastern
Ariz
California,
yes.
and then
I
you hit
drove there. I drove
Arizona.
through that. I
Yeah,
went
you
through
hit
there on
Arizona.
I-10. It's
Oh,
incredible. Looks like
absolutely.
another
Yeah,
planet.
it does. You hit because you're not. It's nothing but desert from California, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. Isn't it?
Yes.
Until it isn't. It isn't until you get to Eastern Texas, where you get out of the desert area. Actually, the Central Texas, because you hit the cities and stuff. And then you go into Louisiana, which is green, and what do you call it, Mississippi and Alabama, and
Mhm.
then eventually Florida and stuff. So like you got three big states that you go through that just like nothing but desert, and it's like what the hell,
It's incredible how
so
much land there is where it's just not
there
populated.
is.
The United States is huge.
Yeah, it's amazing. I heard the number I saw. Again, this was a while ago. It was like 40, it was like 30 to 40% of our nation is actually truly developed. Um,
Mhm.
because everybody thinks that because you live in a major city that the whole rest of the country is like that. It's just not like that. Even
No.
states like, New York, Illinois with the biggest cities and California, right? When you go outside of Chicago, it's cornfields. I've driven in Illinois through the cornfields and stuff like that to get to Chicago.
Yeah.
So it's like it's wheat and corn and everything, right? And same thing in Indiana. It's wheat and corn. And it's
Yeah.
like it's for I'm talking about for like as far as the
Yeah,
eye can see.
hundreds of
Yeah.
miles, just corn and wheat.
So yeah, Jonathan, if you can get a number for us, a correct number, because I'm pretty sure I'm off with that. That number I saw was like a while ago, was anywhere between 30 and 40% of our nation is
It
actually
might even be
developed. And
lower than that when you think about how
it
much
might it
unused land
might
there is. So I'm saying you're
it
probably right.
is. It's I agree. It might actually be lower than that. And I'd be great if it's lower than that because we don't need to overdevelop. We don't. There's so much space, okay, for Americans in this country. The fact that we only have what 300 plus. What is it? How many people? 300 million, little or close to 400 million citizens in the United States. We're not talking about. Well, I guess that's everybody counted, right? Uh, as opposed to like a place like China that has like fucking 9 billion.
Well, that's what they were
It's that's
saying
not
is that,
that's not
it's
the real number, but like yeah,
no, you were
it's
right
crazy.
because, there was again, you can use the word hoax, I guess, to say that the fear of everything being overpopulated, that was just a scare tactic for
Yeah.
population control, when really this whole time there's so much land and there's so much availability of agriculture and there's so much to build and develop in our country alone, let alone in other parts
Yes.
of the world where there's
Yep.
nowhere near about the earth itself as far as there are so many areas that, the
Look at this.
population is 1/1000th of what it could be.
Well, here Jonathan has an answer, and again, I was way off. Way off. Here, Jonathan brought up the answer. I was
Ah,
way off.
see, I
Again, that
said it
was a
was
number I
gonna be
saw.
lower. You were
Yeah.
right.
About 5 to 6% of the United States is developed land. This includes land used for roads, housing, commercial buildings, and other developed. There, I was just way off. So
5%.
wherever I got that number was probably a hoaxy dude too. Then when I got it, so
Just think
again,
about
five to
that,
six
right?
percent of the country. Just think about that, America. Only 5 to 6% of our country is actually developed. Okay, and we have some major metropolitan areas. Okay, with millions of people in it. All right, and we still are not a developed nation. Now we're developed in the sense that as far as technology, but we are not overdeveloped. So when these climate jerks and idiots and buffoons are telling you that we're overpopulated, we're not. Okay, even in Europe. and I took a drive through Europe. All right, when I in 2018, I went on a Band of Brothers tour. If you know, let me get it. I'll plug in the Stephen Ambrose tours. I'm not. I'm not. What do you call it? I'm not financed by them. No sponsorship. They put on. They have the greatest tours if you want to go see like a World War II tour. And we started in Georgia, where Easy Company 101 for 101st Airborne. All right, in Georgia where they trained at Camp Toccoa. Then we flew over the pond over to England where they were staying at prior to the Normandy landings. Then we went into Normandy and we went to Holland. We went into Belgium, Luxembourg, Austria, Germany, all of that stuff. And I want to tell you that we were on a bus through every one of those countries, and it was like driving through the United States of America. All right, like if you were on a highway, on an interstate highway with nothing but farms and stuff like that, it was the same thing, even in Europe. And they're more congested than we are. Okay, and it was still the same thing with green, for as far as the eye can see, mountains and stuff like that. So you know, again,
But
it's
just
a
think
complete
about the
hoax.
whole exactly that. Remember when we were getting all these different PSAs about, in
Yeah,
one format or another, about how the world is just becoming overpopulated. It's overpopulated. The
yeah,
earth can't take it. This whole time,
yeah.
it's like 98% of the entire earth is totally undeveloped.
It's insane, right? It's insane. Well, Jonathan, I gave you stars last time. I gave you fireworks the first
Ooh.
time. This time you get balloons.
He gets a neutron bomb this time.
Yeah, he gets balloons now. That's for Jonathan Stevie, folks. M-
That is
My
so cute.
mod extraordinaire. He is just the man. Always,
Yes,
always on top of stuff. Um,
he's awesome.
he helps us a lot. So I'm always gonna give shout out to him because he helps this show a lot. Every time I need information, or if I put out something wrong, he corrects it. If I'm close to something, he corrects it, which is fine. I'm okay with that. We always want to put out the right information to you all that are watching. So
Oh,
let's get into a little bit more of this because I know you got to get going soon. Agriculture, 58.5 billion. Again, we need it, but what we need to do is okay, agriculture. See, this is gonna get me on a fucking rant. Okay, we need to kick the fucking Chinese off of American land and send their asses back to the fucking Beijing and the fucking Kuaopeng Ho fucking river, whatever the hell it's called over there, right? And let them farm rice and shit over there. I get off our land. We this shit that with Chinese have farmland, okay, in America is absolutely insane to me. I just made up a new Chinese river.
Um, well, first of all, when you think about let's go back just a little bit of a rewind to what was it? Jonathan would know this, and you as well, Eric. When was it one disaster after another? Was it 6 months ago? No, a year ago, when it was
Yeah,
all
it's
of our farmland was being blown up and destroyed, and
oh,
so many
that's
different
happened over the
agricultural buildings.
last yeah, that's happened over the last 4 years and probably a little bit more than
It
that.
was
Yeah,
just
it's
one
been
after another, remember? It was
yeah,
just, like,
yeah,
thousands of acres of chicken farms and beef farms
yeah,
and, so many different areas of corn and land of all different sorts of agriculture that was just being
yeah,
completely and totally destroyed on purpose. And
yeah.
whether it was the Chinese government in cahoots with Bill Gates and whomever, I'd like to hear a little bit more about that even from Jonathan, or if there's any news about that as far as any of our farmland is concerned with the Trump administration. Is there anything to protect it going forward?
I posted something I want to say earlier in the week, maybe Monday. Um and it was about the USDA was actually looking into and I believe the USDA does the USDA fall under HHS for what do you call it for or are they their own separate thing? I think they're their own separate thing, the USDA. They're actually were looking into essentially uh to removing the Chinese. Let me see if I can find that article.
And I always want to talk about
Uh,
the difference between wonderful Chinese Americans who live here who are,
oh, absolutely.
beautiful people versus the CCP. And it's the
Yes,
same
there
thing
is
with
a
our
huge
government.
difference.
They're the same it's the same entity as our own government, the communist American government. Um, so again, it's not a nationality thing, but
No, it's not.
a
It's
governmental
the
thing.
yes, that it is yes. So I'm glad that you clarified that. It is the we are talking about the Chinese Communist Party, okay?
Right, correct.
The Chinese government is buying up American land, and they've been doing it in particular around military installations and whatnot. And that is what we're doing. We had, I think it was Eric Gonzalez on the show, and
There are
he
communist
was talking about
Americans too.
yeah, he was talking about how in I think in California they were buying up land there, and no, the United is not under. Yeah, that's what I thought. I did say that afterwards. I said I think they're their own entity.
Right.
It says no, the United States Department of Agriculture is not. Thank you for the clarification. I did say
So
that
then
though, like
what's
after it,
kinda
because
going on from your point of view as far as the behind the scenes with the Gates Foundation?
well, the Gates Foundation is a complete and total corrupt, foundation, right? It's another money laundering scheme, for Bill Gates to continue to be a billionaire and continue to make money and stuff. His things is just nefarious. The shit that they're doing with all the testing. I mean, he's got warrants for his arrest in African countries for all the people that
Oh,
they killed with the
what
vaccine
he's done to
testing and
those
stuff there.
precious little children
Yeah,
with those
yeah. So like
vaccines,
he's
and
got
remember, he just shoot it right into the arm. Remember he was
yeah
talking
he
about it?
can't yeah
It's
yeah he can't even go to
disgusting.
some of these countries where they'll arrest his ass.
Well, he's
So yeah, he's
a
just
demon.
it's again this is a population control type guy mentality. Um, but it's not going to affect him because he's a billionaire. Why would it affect him? Right? The less people that are on the earth, it's more land for him, more stuff for him to do, right? Um, he's
God is in
just a
control of
scumbag.
all things. Let's not forget who's on the throne.
Absolutely.
So he has a
This is a
way of
man that's trying to
humbling
yeah,
people.
he's got a way of humbling people when they least expect it. And I try to tell people that all the time is that people always talking about karma and stuff, and I'm like, guys, what you guys don't seem to understand is that some of these monsters and you think they're getting away with it, and right at the last minute when they think they finally gotten away with it for good is when they get got.
Right.
And
Yes.
and it's always great to see. And a guy like Bill Gates, he'll get his comeuppance. It'll come. A guy like, believe it or not, a guy like freaking that other Hobbit, Fauci,
Oh,
what do you call it? He'll get his too.
I mean, he was
Uh,
close to getting his due in 1984 when they found out what he was doing with the
with the AIDS
AIDS epidemic,
patients,
that he was
yeah,
basically creating it.
yeah,
Um,
he was making it
I mean,
worse.
he's done so many horrible things, and it's unbelievable that he was very, very close to being found out then. There were a lot
Yeah,
of people who were on his case then,
yeah.
and just somehow
Um,
it just kind of went away a little bit, and then he reemerged as some hero, and people forgot about what happened in 1984.
yeah. Well, because they shelved the history and stuff like that. But those of us who are true seekers and true tellers, we are always going to bring that history back.
Yeah, and look at what,
We're always going to provide.
RFK wrote, the real Anthony Fauci.
Yeah. Yeah. And
That took
listen,
guts.
a guy like RFK Jr., okay, he has spent his entire legal and political career, okay, fighting these people. All right. So he knows these
Yeah.
monsters in and out. It's why I had no problem with the Trump administration bringing him on, okay, prior to the election, and I knew he was going to get HHS because that's something that he's been fighting every freaking agency at HHS, okay, forever. And it was just a good move. We just needed to get done, you know. So I'm just glad that he's what do you call it? He's managed to make that happen.
Mhm. Yeah,
So that's just a good thing and whatnot.
absolutely.
I know you got to get going here soon, Kristen.
Yeah, let's see, in another minute or so. I have to say, Eric, this was a lot of fun. Just every one of your episodes are just growing and evolving with new aspects and facets. And you're of course just getting even more awesome each show. And you
Thank
just have
you.
such a cool platform. I'm so proud of you. Again, I love the community, and it's just fun, and I just think it's growing into something really, really great. And my hats off to you. Bravo.
Well, thank you very much, and I sincerely and genuinely appreciate that you're a big part of it.
Oh,
That's why we
thank
love. That's
you.
why we love bringing you here on Wednesdays so we can have these conversations. And as our conversations go, as we see, they go all over the place, but we always end up zeroing back in to what we need to do, what we started talking about, because it's all connected, right? Everything we talk about is all connected.
Trump
Um,
calls it the
you know,
weave. We do the weave.
yeah, we
It's
do the
called the
weave.
weave.
We're pretty good at doing the weave, and then we get back in our lane.
Yeah.
But you're a big part of it, Kristen, and
Oh,
I'm always
thank you. I'm
grateful to have
honored.
you on the show. So it'll be great to see that beautiful face of yours next week.
Oh, well, thank you. You are so kind and you're stellar and handsome and wonderful. Eric, no, seriously, you're just you're passionate and you're driven and you really always just you bring so much to the forefront for us all to sink our teeth into as far as having these conversations and trying to, provide clarity. And I think that that's what it's about. It's just putting it out there and being able to talk. That's what our First Amendment allows us, and exercising it. And wherever it goes, it
Yeah,
goes. And of course, bringing everything
absolutely.
back to our wonderful God who gives us life to be able to do it in the first place, and his grace and goodness. And we think about this past election and how we were offered that uh, opportunity to continue, to have the opportunity to keep going, when we
Yep,
think about how it could have turned out. And I'm reminded of His mercies every morning when I think of that. So again, it's
absolutely.
just a blessing to be
Amen.
part of this, and I'm just very grateful for you and everyone here. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome, Kristen. Again, it's just always wonderful to have you on the show, and we always have great conversations and whatnot. So
Amen,
I love
Eric.
you, and
Absolutely, I love
I
you
love you
too.
immensely.
Likewise,
um,
I love you and everyone here, and thank you so, so much. And I'm super excited for next week. Like I said, I will be on camera. Had a little bit of a different setup today, so I I don't have anything properly done, the lighting or anything. So I figured that this would be most efficient, so I didn't have to overthink it too much.
Absolutely. So
But
it's gonna be
I
great
know you're
having
gonna
you, hon.
continue, and, thank you so much. I'm gonna head out because I have to be somewhere in just a little while, and, again, I just love these conversations, and it just reminds me too of what's important to me as far as, where we're headed as a country, so I'm really, really grateful to be part of it.
Well, again, always great to have you. So we looking forward to seeing you again next week, hon.
God bless you, Eric, and everyone here, thank you
God
so much.
bless you
You
too.
have a great rest of your night. We'll chat real soon.
Have a good night, love.
Thanks, you too. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. Well, America, that was the Christinfluence, and we are having our convos with the Christinfluence Wednesdays. It was great to always have her back. We always have a good back and forth with one another and talking about things, and her perspective on things are absolutely phenomenal. So we absolutely enjoy, when she's on the phone, on the show with us. Uh, her and I do have some conversations off air and whatnot. We have some pretty deep conversations that revolve around not only politics but around God and whatnot. And it's always good discussions with her. Uh, but before I go, I have something that's just like amazing for me, and I know if I have any of my fellow Star Wars fans who believe that Disney Star Wars absolutely sucks donkey dick, okay, we got some good news, and hopefully it's gonna be true, but it seems like it is. All right, we right now, okay, Kathleen Palpatine is going to be gone. That is an amazing thing, So it's just great. Darth Kennedy is finally going to be freaking done at Lucasfilms. Okay, so that Lawrence fireworks. That is freaking awesome. You know, uh, it's great to see those of us who grew up with the Star Wars IP and Indiana Jones and whatnot. She has absolutely destroyed anything reg- anything belonging to Lucas's legacy, and all the bullshit that she has put out. There's been a few gems in there, but most of it is just absolute garbage with all the woke DEI shit. She has been the mastermind behind all of that. I don't care what anybody says. Um, so just to find that she's just to freaking for her to go, uh, whoever takes over Lucasfilm, I really, really hope that you guys really, really listen to the fans. There are some good people out there who have been in the thick of things in this culture war, like Star Wars Theory. He's like one of the biggest Star Wars fans, has the biggest Star Wars platform. Him and the Stupendous Wave. Both of those two guys have like Stupendous Wave actually started before him, and they both actually got a podcast together now, and they're two of the biggest Star Wars platforms. And me being a huge Star Wars fan and expanded universe fan in particular, I read a lot of the books, and when Kathleen Kennedy took over and she was like, there is no lore for us to base shit on. I don't know what the hell, nobody knew what the hell she was talking about. When they turned the expanded universe into Legends, I knew that was the end of Star Wars. Um, they were still running the Clone Wars. I know some people think it's dog shit. I thought it was really good. Most of it was pretty good. Season 7 was actually really great, but what a lot of people don't know, season 6 was actually fantastic. It stopped at season 5. That was when Lucasfilm was bought by the evil empire, Disney. And, what do you call it? They had Rebels, I think, was under. I liked Rebels. A lot of people didn't. Anyway, Kathleen Kennedy is supposed to be leaving, so that's a fantastic thing. And like Jonathan says, I agree with you here, brother. It should have happened a decade ago. It's true. The minute they saw that it was bombing and they were losing money, Disney should have got rid of her. But I think she knows where all the bodies are at, and they were afraid of her. Um, but with that said, yeah, I agree with you. I actually enjoyed Rebels for different things, but I thought Rebels was good. A lot of people feel the same way you do, Jonathan. But Clone Wars was good. Rebels was okay. I was okay with the Bad Batch. Wasn't bad. Um, I think the first season was probably better than anything. Um, I think the first season was probably the best season out of the Bad Batch. Uh, it just kind of got a little weird there as time went on. Um, you know, and yeah, Rogue Nina, she's out, and you might be a little bit of lag. But she's gone. She will be back next Wednesday. So next Wednesday, the Chris Influence will be back with us. She will be back on camera. This Friday, we have our second Patriot panel. We have a pretty good lineup, and we're just going to talk everything patriotic here on this. What do you call it? On the Break the Machine podcast. So Friday we have again the Patriot panel, and then next Monday we have Jay Sixer Christopher Alberts will be here with his wife on the show to tell his story. Um, and we're absolutely booked for the month of March. So you'll have everybody on Monday and Friday, and it'll be Kristen and I on Wednesdays. I'm looking into trying to get some people in for the Wednesday show just to do a few interviews with Kristen and I interviewing somebody. But it'll be Red Day and I on Mondays and Fridays, and we're completely and totally booked for the month of March. So we have again Christopher Alberts on Monday, and then next Friday, which should be a really, really good episode. We got a Canadian conservative that's going to come on the show thanks to Rogue Nina, one of our regulars here on the show who's always in the chat. She helped us. She helped connect us with a Canadian conservative who's going to come together and hang and tell us about the politics that's going on in Canada. And thanks to Jonathan Stevie, I'm in connection with a British conservative who's going to talk to us. Unfortunately, we've been in discussions. We're not going to be able to bring him on the show until April because we're just completely booked up. But he's going to come on the show on a Friday night. He said we're going to arrange that. I'm going to try to get that for you guys the first week of April, so we can get him on and get him going and have him talking about the stuff that's going on in the UK, right? We got conservative cousins across the pond and up north, so we got to make sure that we bring them on and find out what's going on in their countries. Um, and Jonathan says, "I have a German one. If yes, we got to let's talk to our. Especially there's a big conservative movement in Germany right now. Okay, with the AFD and some of the other, uh, again, the whole European parliamentary thing that goes on in all those countries with like 12 different parties, and whoever gets the majority ends up having the government forever long it lasts. So yes, definitely like to bring a German conservative on here, and because they're fighting in their country right now. Thanks to Merkel, she was there forever, and She actually opened the door to a lot of different shit, a lot of communist shit that went on. It's funny because if you look at Eastern Germany, which was under communist control forever and part of the Russian, bloc of countries that they had control over, uh, all of those people in the former communist nation of East Germany are all right wingers and all freaking, pro freedom, pro free speech and everything. And then everybody in Western that was part of Western Germany when the country was split, they're all part of doing communist shit and everything. It's insane to watch. So we have to pay attention to what goes on in the world too, because it actually affects us a little bit too. I think the movement here, the conservative movement here in the United States, um, with Trump especially getting elected and just more voices on the airwaves, not just like my channel. There are obviously bigger channels out there, just out there. It's just having a profound effect on other countries, in Europe and across the world. So, it's a good thing to see, and we'll definitely do that, Jonathan. We'll bring him on. We'll definitely have to set that up too. And I'm always interested to hear what's going on in other people's countries. I'd like to find the Polish conservative. Well, the whole country is pretty much conservative in Poland. They've been like that for a long time. Although recently, I think they got a pretty Marxist leader somehow. Again, that whole parliamentary shit, the way they do their elections is crazy. So with that said, I'm going to be signing out here. I am. What'd you say? What's that, Jonathan? Says Democrats hate Russia because they abandoned communism. Yeah, they're just a dictatorship now. That's all. Fucking Putin's leader for life there. Um, murking people and putting people behind bars, and his little cousin, freaking Zelensky, doing the same shit. Um, but yeah, I agree with you, Jonathan. That's actually a pretty valid statement. They hate the Russians because they did pretty much give communism. They just do a little. They do some dictatorship type stuff, though. That's all. Anyway, I am the Big Red One guy signing off, reminding you that together and only together can we break the machine. God bless you all. God bless America, and I will see you all on Friday, fam. Have a good night.